Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Missing Wolves post-game live stream podcasting. I'm your host, Andrew Dukowitz, who is currently panicking as I try to figure out why the Twitterverse is continually struggling to have any sort of consistency with going live over there. But for the people over on YouTube that are tuning in already, I appreciate you guys going to YouTube where it's a little more consistent. I do have a special guest today, Markos Tsegaye.
Tsegaye, yeah.
Tsegaye. I lost my brain when I was panicking, but fellow writer of mine over at ZoneCoverage puts up great stuff, usually about once a week or so. Is that how much you're putting up over there?
Yeah, once a week, yeah.
Yeah, does great work over there. Colleague of mine. We both are gainfully employed technically by Tom Schreier. But Markos, how's it going, man?
Yeah, going really well. After seeing that Timberwolves game tonight, a little bit different, but doing really well. Writing for ZoneCoverage, obviously, seeing the stuff that you put out. Really looking forward to what we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. Well, let's just kind of get into it. I mean, you were at the game tonight, and first off, weird vibe. Like, I thought the stadium was going to be a little more electric with like USA winning gold and people drinking all day, but it was just kind of a kind of gross feeling crowd, I guess, if that's a way to say it. But I mean, Johan picks up three fouls in the first 5 minutes. I mean, what was your impression of Johan's night?
Yeah, I mean, just getting the starting opportunity, of course, with Rudy out and Nas out is going to be a tall task. I thought this was one of the few games in his young NBA career where he kind of you kind of could see that he wasn't quite at the level where, he has that tendency to contest every shot. And I think sometimes that got, the best of him tonight, where he picked up those 2 early fouls and he consistently stayed in foul trouble. At the same time, he's dealing with one of the best rebounders in the past 10 years in Andre Drummond. So that's not easy either. So I think it's just one of those rookie performances that, we saw the highs and lows from him tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we talked to him after the game in the locker room, and you could obviously tell he was like pretty disappointed in his performance, which I mean, Finch has been telling us all season, right? Like, the guy jumps at everything. He fouls a ton. English is still a little bit of a barrier. And I think we kind of saw all of it tonight. Like, he does jump at everything. He fouls a ton. And I mean, especially in like the third quarter when he checked in, I noticed Mike Conley was like taking him aside every offensive possession and kind of telling him where to go. I mean, I think to me, it's just kind of validation that he might still be a year away from like a main rotational guy. What do you think, though?
Yeah, I think I would agree with you just in terms of getting consistent minutes. Finch is going to have to trust him. And when he is sort of playing an undisciplined style of defense, I think it's going to be hard for that to be a solidified spot for him. But at the same time, with this Timberwolves bench, there's plenty of rotational spots open, especially on the bench. We saw tonight, I didn't really think there was anybody that came in. Like, we saw Jalen Clark, Terrence Shannon, Johan. There wasn't anybody that really stuck, took advantage of the opening in those minutes tonight. So I think Johan still has plenty of opportunities for it. But I do think he is quite a ways away of really getting that solid rotational spot that we so desperately want him to have, because he's been such a exciting watch, when he has played at his best, catching lob dunks, blocking shots. The verticality has been great too, but I think we do see some tendencies in his game that kind of show that he still needs a little bit more development.
Yeah, it's just not quite there, which isn't a bad thing. Like, the guy started playing basketball 4 years ago. He's a 19-year-old rookie. Like, it kind of is what it is at this point. Maybe another summer league, another training camp, a lot more film in the off season. He might be there next year, but yeah, it's just, you feel for the kid, because you could tell he was pretty excited to get out there, get his name in the starting lineup, and then it just went south immediately.
Yeah. But hey, I mean, he still has all the tools. Like, I'm very high on Johan because of what he's shown when he's been out there. I just think tonight was just one of those nights where maybe the matchup wasn't the best for him with the rebounding presence that Philly has, not only with Drummond, but I think Adembona was really impactful on the
Mhm.
boards as well. So, I mean, there was just a lot for him out there to kind of digest. And when you're getting in foul trouble, you're not really going to get yourself in a rhythm either. So, I think it was just one of those games for him, but he'll bounce back.
Yeah, I think he'll bounce back too. I think he's a good kid. It's I just kind of felt for him in the moment of just like, oh, buddy, like this is going so south for you.
For sure, yeah.
I mean, you mentioned like the rest of the bench. Like this might have been Io's worst game as a
Mm.
Timberwolf. Like missing shots, just kind of careless passes at times. Bones, I would say this might be one of his worst games of the
Oh, yeah.
season. Like he had those two hero shots in the second quarter, and then Finch was just kind of like, nope, we're not doing this. And then, I mean, to your point, like TJ wasn't effective. Clark, his plus minus looks a little better, but like he only played 8 minutes, and four of those were garbage times. Like, honestly, Mike might have been the best guy off the bench, which is Mike is just like begging someone to take his job at this point. Like,
Yeah.
it is kind of, this season as a whole, like it is kind of just hard to believe that everything has gone wrong with the bench. Like obviously Io is still early, but like what have your thoughts been on the bench this season? And then like on especially a game like tonight where Nas isn't out there. I mean, they looked so thin.
Yeah, the bench has been tough this season. I think coming into it, we all had high hopes for TJ, especially to really take off, especially after what we saw in that little glimpse in the Western Conference Finals. But really, I think the injuries have kind of caught up to him as well. But I think just his ability to establish that rotational spot, I think relies upon him making shots and playing defense. And I think the same thing applies to Jalen Clark, making your 3-pointers and then guarding the perimeter players on the other side. And I think both of those guys have kind of struggled to do that consistently at a level where it is going to be required and enough of an excuse for Finch to continuously keep him out there. I think it's been a struggle ultimately to find that jolt off the bench that could kind of replace Nikhil from last year and in the years past. It's been difficult, but yeah, the bench hasn't been great. And I think as much as people want uh, less of Mike Conley, I think the trust is the main thing of why he continues to have a role, is his ability to play defense, his ability to facilitate and orchestrate an offense for the Timberwolves is something that Chris Finch still relies upon. And like you mentioned, like Conley is giving everybody just a chance to take his spot, but he's holding on to that spot because of the trust. And once somebody gets that from Finch, I think it's not going to be hard to take Conley's spot.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been my vibe all season is like you give it to Rob, like he has the whole summer league. They're like, Rob, take Mike's job. Rob doesn't. They're hoping TJ takes like all those minutes. He doesn't. Bones takes it while he's gone, but then a night like tonight happens. I mean, it is just like then you're playing Mike 15 minutes, which like I don't think Mike was the problem tonight. Like
No.
he was fine, but I mean, just woof. Mini sports fan ads. He may just needed one game in regards to Johan. Quick learner, that one. Cole mentions, we got embarrassed. How does this not make you guys mad? Also, Ant's playmaking is awful. It's 7 turnovers. Tough look for Ant tonight. And a couple of those were just like dribbled off his leg.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never been like a let sports ruin my day guy, because like to me sports are an escape, so like I'm not going to let my escape ruin my day. But like it is kind of annoying that it's like they didn't have Embiid, Paul George is suspended, and they lost by like almost 30. I mean, Marcus, how are you feeling about it? Are you what's your take on vibes?
Man, I think they had opportunities to kind of put some things together tonight, but ultimately the defense just wasn't there. It kind of reminds me of a game a couple games before the break against the Clippers at home, where
Mm-hmm.
they just didn't have that defensive resistance, and so many of the role players were able to get going. And I thought tonight that's what took place. VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey obviously had great games, but I thought the role players as well made the difference. And when you look at it compared to Minnesota's, they didn't do enough. I thought Julius and Jaden, I mean, just with their 3-point shots, just wasn't falling tonight. And then, yeah, I think you weren't getting that energy from the bench, like you mentioned with Io, and then also with Bones, who has been playing well for quite a few games now. So I think when you just don't have all these things going for you, it's going to be tough to contend with a team when you're not playing defense. So, yeah.
And to your point, Godfrey drops in the chat here. Wolves lost because of defense. Sixers score 68 in the first, 67 in the second. I mean, that's your point. Like it is really hard to beat any team when, you just, there wasn't really any resistance there, especially when Johan was out, which I guess I'll just ask you straight up. How was center McDaniels with 4-point guards for you? Was that as fun as it was for me?
Ugh. I mean, it wasn't a great thing to watch. I'm not a fan of seeing Jaden down there, just because he might be tall, but he just doesn't have the strength and all that. So I think there's just limitations to that. But that's also a position you're put in because of the situation. I mean, I think I remember Jaden playing center on Christmas against Jokic when Rudy fouled out, and it's just like
Yep.
he's not gonna stop him. So I think that's just a last ditch sort of effort thing. Maybe some people wanted to see a little bit of Rocco tonight, but I don't think today was going to be an opportunity for him to really get rotational minutes. I think that's something more so down the line. But I always knew the Timberwolves were going to struggle in this game because obviously defensively without Rudy, it's a big difference, and when you don't have that energy from Nas, who is a 6 man of the year front runner right now, it's going to be tough because the bench is just not giving you anything.
And I mean, you mentioned it a little bit of like, the role players of the Sixers getting going. Like, I do think that was a really big part of this as well. Like, you can't let Kelly Oubre feel himself. Like you can't allow that to happen. And, Finch after the game was just like, we weren't getting into guys. We weren't really covering guys as close as we need to. We were having like short closeouts. And once like Oubre starts hitting shots, once, again, Edgecombe, I think you're kind of expecting, but like Quentin Grimes gets 19 tonight on 5 of 8 shooting from 3. Like once that starts happening, it's just like we don't have the firepower, which then when you're playing Jaden at center, you don't have the firepower to match. And as pack mentality, my question is, why was Finch playing 5 guards at one point? I think he was just trying to throw stuff at a wall. I mean, I think that's why you saw Clark minutes. I thought that's why you saw Shannon get a ton of minutes. I think he was just kind of just like whatever we can throw out there. I saw a lot on Twitter too of Rocco. Like, I'm going to be honest, I'm not locked into the Iowa game. I know Jonah, shout out Jonah, our other writer colleague. He is locked into every NBA game that's ever happened. But like, I don't know what I'm kind of on the like protect rookies a little bit more. Like if you're going to throw Rocco out there, probably not like the best idea to have him go against Andre Drummond. Like, I don't know. What's your take kind of on the Rocco not getting minutes?
I mean, he definitely has the skill set as a pretty tall player. I want to say like around 7'3", can do similar things to Beringer, but he can block shots. Obviously, he has the length, and he can even hit the 3-point shot. But I do agree with you in terms of protecting rookies, and that seems to be Finch's stance on things like that as well, where you want to put them in the best position to succeed. And maybe he does see a little bit more from Beringer just being with the team a bunch this year to put him out there. But I think with Rocco, he is developing. He's having great games in Iowa. He's showing that he belongs at the NBA level. But I think over time, we're probably going to see more of him tonight. I just didn't think it was going to be the opportunity for him to get going, just because he hasn't been with the team a bunch. If I'm not mistaken, he literally just got called back up. So, yeah.
He's had a really weird season. Like I've gotten a chance to like talk to him a couple times, like off to the side, and like he's a super nice kid. I think he's gonna have a chance, like just from summer league. Like he can shoot. Like you have a 7'3" guy that can legitimately like has a shooter's touch, but like he has been going up and down from Iowa. Like he'll come up here for a practice and then like get flown back down to Iowa and then play in a game same day and then come up like the next. Like I think he was there as like it's weird to say emergency because like arguably today was an emergency when Johan has 3 fouls, but
Yeah.
like I think he was there as like if we're getting blown out or we're up by 30, we can get him some minutes. But I would just worry you throw him in there and Andre Drummond just kind of like backs him down, and like he's not a very built guy yet at this point. Like I just why ruin his confidence on a random February game? But I have a weird take on these things. I'm much more into like the mental side of it. And I just like why ruin his confidence. But I do hear like the fans that are like, you have a 7'3" guy, you're getting destroyed on rebounds, like just throw him out there.
Yeah.
But I just think it's just a little tougher when it's a kid. You know what I mean? Like he's 19. I wouldn't want to risk it. Cole brings up so ready to trade Randall. Hate the construction around Ants. He needs more help. I know you've written about it a couple times, the Julius Randall of it all. I mean, what's your kind of like last month been? Because Randall since December has been it's been tough. Like whether it's I wrote a piece on like maybe is the trade deadline that is messing with him. The last 2 games he hasn't been very good. I just wonder like what's your take on it, I guess?
I think the skill set of Randall is still something that the Timberwolves need in terms of his playmaking ability on offense and his ability to just attract double teams. Like he is a guy that's going to be respected on the offensive side of the ball. But sometimes I do kind of tell that he doesn't have that level of engagement, I guess the requisite level of engagement on every single play, where he does have that lackadaisical sort of vibe around him sometimes. And the same thing can be said for Ant. So I think that's just a whole sort of team thing where those two are your leaders and you need them to really just step up and be at the level that they need to be at. And I think that brings about the situation from a few weeks ago where Rudy Gobert kind of called it out in the locker room with the whole just playing with effort on defense. And when they do that, they're a much better team. So I think it just starts with the defensive side of the ball, and that allows the team to just flow and be who they need to be. But Julius, he has so much that he can do on this team. I think sometimes he might settle a little bit. Sometimes he might just play a little bit lazy, but we know how good he can be when he has it going. And it's just a matter of how that's going to come back because he is capable of so much more than what he's putting forward right now.
I have to correct myself because I thought you wrote about Randall, and then I brought up your articles, and I was like, no, you wrote about trading Randall quite a few times.
Did I do that?
It is. I think he was included in the Trae Young piece.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I did.
But he's such a difficult. Like it, you know. Trying to think of how I want to word it. Like when Finch says this team is moody, I think that also like can be applied to numerous individual guys on this team. And I think Randall is one of them. Cause like he shows you on some nights, like his ability to just like bully to the basket is next level. Like we literally saw him just like shut Wemby down on defense in the like last couple minutes of a Spurs game. Like he has this extra place he can go to. It's so inconsistent at times, and I'm just not sure what it is. You know what I mean? Like if it's officiating gets to him. Finch did say after the game that he was feeling under the weather today. I don't think Randall was like the biggest reason they lost. Like they just kind of got torched on the perimeter. Like sure, did Randall like miss a couple like zone reads when he was playing center? Like sure, but he's just kind of an enigma on this team because if they want to make any noise in the playoffs, they need him to be great. But there's just a lot of these games where it's just not good enough in a lot of cases. I mean, do you have any inkling that this could like change come playoff times when, the guys are all locked in kind of like it did last year? Or what's your read on it this season?
Man, I think the Timberwolves would do anything to get the Julius Randle from last year's playoffs.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it yet at a consistent level to where he is going to be able to, show that before the end of the regular season. I think it's clear that the Timberwolves need him to be able to be consistent because of how poor the depth is on this team. They need him to be really good. They need Jaden McDaniels to be way better than he had kind of has been of late. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of things that just need to be at a higher level. And I think the Timberwolves, they can't just expect 40-point games from Anthony Edwards every single time he's out there. I think they need guys to just step up and show up. And when you're not getting that from your bench, you can't have anybody in the starting lineup miss a step. So I think that's just where the Timberwolves are at with this roster construction.
It's just, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the offseason, which, like, a lot of basketball left this season. Who knows what's going to happen in the playoffs? But like, it does kind of feel like something needs to move. I don't know if that's a Julius, a Rudy, a Dante, whoever, but like, it just feels like something. If they can't get it done this year, I feel like then it's kind of to that, like, well, we've kind of seen this iteration of the team. But Marcus, I'm going to throw us over to a couple ad breaks here. When we come back, Ren says Chris Finch is the best coach ever. So we'll probably talk a little Finch, a little Ant.
Sure.
Well, hello. Thank you, Livestream Andrew. This is Ad Read Andrew. And today we have Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, the presenting sponsor for the Missing Links podcast. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling strives to inspire people to follow their ideas, working with respect and understanding to create a quality, tailored result. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, located in Blaine and serving in the North Metro area, is here to help you with your building and remodeling needs. I can say personally, thanks to Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, I have a beautiful deck in my backyard and countless projects that I started, they finished. Get started on your new deck or remodel today by calling Isaac at 763-710-5686. And we're back with another ad read, this time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood Network. From the best tools and technology to transparency throughout the entire process, Nate Pence and the Pence Homes team is the top choice for buyers, sellers, and is proud to support you and your home ownership goals. Get started today by calling 612-308-1122 or by emailing info@pencehomes.com. So let's talk Finch first, and then we'll talk Ant, because I think Ant, the 7 turnovers is tough. I don't think he's like blameless in this game, but like, I guess I've never really asked you, like, what has your impression been on Finch this season? Like, where do you kind of have him sitting at this point?
Man, I think Finch is obviously, he's had to try some different things with this roster being pretty new. I think with the whole financial situation, they kind of knew that it was going to be a little tough going into this year without Nikhil, and just trying to find who was going to be that guy off the bench to really give them something. And when you pair that with a tough start to the year for Naz Reid, I think it was just a lot to really handle. But over time, I think the Timberwolves and Chris Finch specifically has done well to find rotations and guys that can, put together some really good things. I think just the play of Bones Highland, for example, who started the year not even in the rotation, giving him the opportunity to prove himself and eventually show that, he can be trusted a little bit more than Rob could, was something that I think you got to give Finch credit for, because he's seeing it in practice every single day. I thought that was a good thing from him. And I think eventually just getting the team going and back to their defensive identity was something that wasn't quite there at the start of the year, that we were able to see for quite a while. But obviously the disappointing losses, I don't know how much you can put on Finch when the team is not really stepping up to the plate when you're playing an under 500 opponent. I think there have been some very frustrating losses, whether you look at the one to Utah, to Brooklyn, to New Orleans. Like, there's been just way too many of that. And that's kind of been a reoccurring theme throughout Finch's tenure since he came Ant's rookie year. So I think just the immaturity of this team has kind of continued. And that's the unfortunate part, that you kind of have to look at Finch and give him a little bit of a criticism for, where I think that's deserved, because the team has to be better. The team has to be held accountable in those ways. And you can't be having it, especially from your leaders. You need mature performances. And that's something you can look at the coaching staff for. But overall, I think putting this team in position once again to be a playoff team year in, year out, I think you have to give him credit for. So given the situation of everything and really having a lackluster bench and just new pieces around this team, I think he deserves some credit for obviously where the team is at right now.
I agree. Well, I'll just say I agree with everything you said. Like, I do think, to me, it's a little bit of like chicken or the egg type of thing, where it's like, is the immaturity like a Finch thing, or is the immaturity like players on the roster just not being locked in thing? Like, the Julius thing. I mean, when he got traded here, like the amount of Knicks fans that like DM'd me and were like, just wait. Like, it's gonna be a tough ride sometimes. I was kind of like, I don't know about that. But now, like, year and a half into it, it's like, all right, yeah, I kind of see that. And Ant, like, his superpower is that he has a short-term memory, and his curse is also that he has a short-term memory. So it's just hard on that one. But at some point, like, you do have to put like some of that on coaching of like, why can't these guys consistently perform at the level that we know they can? I kind of continue to go back and just say, like, I think as long as Ant is still bought into Finch, as long as the locker room still bought into Finch, like, Finch is going to be here, and he's gonna go down as probably the best coach in franchise history, even if he gets fired tomorrow. Like, he's a top 10 coach in the NBA, like, easily. And selfishly, I enjoy talking to him. He's a very nice man. But like, it's just such a weird team, which that's kind of what I keep going back to, is just, it's weird. Cole and Ren both bring up Io, of just like, watch how Finch changes Io's confidence. Speaking of Io, why is he standing in the corner like Jaden? He never played that much in Chicago. Again, I when he got traded here, I went on a podcast with Wilder Adams, who, shout out Wilder, great guy. But we got into a little heated discussion because I was like, you can't change your entire offense mid-season. Like, dudes, especially Ant and Julius, who aren't really like read and react playmakers. They're more of like, people have to stand in static spots so that Julius and Ant know where they are type of playmakers. Trying to like temper people of like, Io this season is just going to be Mike Conley. He shoots from the same spots as Mike Conley. His efficiencies are really good where Mike Conley was missing. Next season, I think, is going to be where Io gets unlocked more here. But like, he is just kind of doing Mike Conley's above the break 3 and corner 3 thing right now, which is kind of where my expectations were. I mean, I guess, this is probably a bad example to ask you about, like, how have you seen Io fitting in with this squad? But like, maybe if we can wipe our minds clear of Io playing power forward tonight, like, how have you felt Io's been fitting in here so far?
I think he's definitely brought a level of just connectivity for the team. That's a term that's thrown around a lot for Chris Finch, is the connectivity of it all. And I think he does that in terms of just his playmaking ability. He's always looking to make the right play. But I think sometimes that comes at a cost of his aggression. I know you said to not, focus on the game tonight, but I saw it a couple of times tonight where
by all means,
he had the opportunity to just be aggressive and take opportunities to go at the basket and finish. And I thought there were certain moments where I felt like he was playing in such a structured manner where he was looking to just reset. And we know how good he can be in transition. He's already shown that in just a few games here. I think just maximizing what he can do is really the best bet going forward, instead of really just making him a 3-point shooter. Now, he's obviously one of the best 3-point percentage shooters in the league this year, and he's gotten quite a long way in that regard. But I think there's just so much more for him to do, and if you can kind of just allow him to just be himself and sort of play in this free flow sort of style offense that can be had in this Minnesota Timberwolves team, I think you get the best version of Io, and you can also get the best version of your teammates, because he is also that playmaker. So I think it's just trying to get the most out of him, because when you're not getting it from like a Bones Highland tonight and the others,
Yeah.
you're gonna need it from Io. You can't afford to just have him be a standstill shooter.
It's weird too, because Io, like, when he got traded here, I remember talking to Tom about it, our boss, of just
Yeah.
like he's kind of the finished. He's a better defender than I think Rob will ever be, but like offensively, he's kind of like the finished product of Rob. Like he has that quick step where if he gets it off of like an ant double team, he's going to be able to just put a foot down and go. And then like he's okay with threes, like 45%, I think gets people's like attention, but like I think I looked it up and all but one 3-point attempt this season while he was in Chicago is considered open or wide open. So like the dude doesn't shoot contested shots, which is why he's so good at threes. It's just like it's a weird fit this year. Like I think Io next year, after they move some things around, if he resigns, it's going to make a lot more sense. But I do agree with you. Like kind of Io's best trait is pushing the pace, right? And on a night like tonight where you just don't see really anything in transition, I think it shows a lot that when he's not pushing that pace, he's just a weird offensive fit, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I just feel like there's so much more for his game, like you said, just needing to be unlocked. And I think there are chances for that to happen this year. It's just a matter of really the coaching staff allowing him to have those opportunities and himself really just applying it on the court, where I think he does just sometimes lack the aggression where he has
Mhm.
those opportunities, and I feel like he just needs to make the most of them, because when he gets downhill, I mean, he can finish at the rim, and that's something that the Timberwolves need to maximize. So I hope to see more of that moving forward, and they're going to need him really to be playing at a high level when the playoffs come, because to this day, like I really don't know what the best rotation is for Minnesota going into the playoffs. I mean, I guess you can say the recent rotation coming out of the All-Star break with him, Bones, Nas, just having that 8-man really solid rotation. I think they had Johan playing there as well. But having that solid 8-man rotation, I don't know if you can fully trust it even with Bones. So I think you need Io to be playing at a high level, and I think he has so much more to give to this team.
They're gonna need 25 to 30 minutes from him. Like they're just if this team is gonna make anything, like they just need Io for 30 minutes of like confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say it. Godfrey mentions Io stands in the corner because Ant and Randall dribble the air out of the ball. Sometimes I'm not going to disagree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I will say, like, the mid-season trade is harder than it's it's harder than I think it's put on sometimes. Like Io is the new kid in the classroom, and there's kind of like a hierarchy on teams of like this guy, then this guy, then this guy, then this guy, then this guy. And like that hierarchy is like a weird thing to just get dropped into. Like I think when we traded for Mike Conley 2.5 years ago, like Mike is the perfect guy to drop into a situation like that, because Mike is just like he's your old school point guard that goes all off vibes and emotional IQ. Like he just figures it out. I think for a younger guy like Io, who's, in his mid-20s, new city, new hierarchy, new team, like even if Finch is sitting there saying like, you got to go, like we need you to drive, there's just going to be that kind of hesitation. I mean, it's just going to be there, which can that get cleaned up by the playoffs, I think is like my big question. And then it is like kind of like I said earlier, Godfrey, like Ant and Julius need guys kind of standing in certain spots. Like Julius is the reason like a lot of guys don't back cut and do stuff on this is because like Julius needs static outs where he knows where like, okay, I'm dribbling. If I go up for a shot and I have to pass out, this guy's going to be standing here. And if that guy's just like back cutting or doing something, that's just a turnover. And Ant's kind of the same way where like if he comes off a screen and he gets like a hard double, he needs to be able to look at who's coming at him on the double, figure out whose assignment that is, and then just throw it to where that guy's supposed to be. Unfortunately, that's not Io's game. Like Io cuts a ton. Io does a lot of like really nice off ball stuff. And I think that's something they can figure out. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they can figure that out, but like 3 weeks after the trade, when like Ant's in the All-Star game and half of the rosters like in Cabo, like it's just hard. Which uh, I know like Cole's bringing up like Jared McCain's fitting right away into Oklahoma City. It's just like everyone's different is kind of what I would say. I don't think Io's like, I think Io is going to fit in just fine. I don't think this is going to be like a bust or anything. Also, they didn't really trade anything for him,
Yeah.
but like it is harder than I think it is significantly harder than it's made out to be to just like show up in a new city.
100%. And it's just a completely different situation for him where he's really, a part of winning basketball all of a sudden in
Yeah.
his career, that he's got to just find his way to really just get adjusted to things. But I mean, just given who he was in the college game, given who he was able to become in Chicago, he's capable of so much more. And I look at, even with that Conley trade, where they even got Nickeil Alexander-Walker in that trade, who eventually carved out a role for himself, and that showed itself in the playoffs that year, where he was able to be effective. And everybody remembers that play-in game where they just continuously said on the broadcast he's guarding his cousin SGA, and he was doing such a good job. So I think just maybe when the playoffs come, like, this is where Io is fully going to be himself in this Timberwolves team. But I think right now he's figuring out a bunch of things. He's figuring out what guys like to do, and that sometimes does come at a cost of his aggression and who he needs to be out there. But I think he'll figure it out. I'm confident in what he can do and what he's shown in little glimpses so far this season. I mean, it's clear Finch trusts him. He's playing with Anthony Edwards. He's playing in so many different lineups, not just on the bench. I mean, he even started the second half. So I think there's going to be so many opportunities for him to really get going in this team. I think there's just going to be some games where he's figuring it out, and I'm hopeful that a few games go by and he's kind of getting going and he's kind of understanding what his role needs to be, and Finch understands how to maximize him as well.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really hopeful that at some point this season we'll kind of see him look a little more confident. Like tonight, I'm not going to put a lot of faith into tonight's game. I'll be honest. Like, I'm not going to rewatch it tomorrow. I'm going to just immediately forget it and move on with my life, because it's like no Rudy, no Nas. The other team shoots lights out. Wolves didn't play any defense. Johan gets 3 fouls in 5 minutes. Like, I'm just going to throw this one away and move on with my life. But like, it is another one of those games where, again, to your point earlier, it just seems like the Wolves have a lot of these where you look back on them at the end of the season. If they're the 6 or 7 seed, we're going to be looking back on probably 7 or 8 of these now of just like, woof, they should have won that one. Marcus, we're almost hitting the 40-minute mark though, so I do want to give you the floor. Where can people find you? Where, if you want people to follow you on social, where can they find you on social? What are you up to? Anything fun? The floor is yours, sir. It's whatever you want to make it to be.
Well, I'd say I'm most active on TikTok. So I have a podcast, the Finale Podcast, where I put out NBA and NFL content, mainly on Minnesota sports. So I did a lot of Viking stuff this past year. Now I'm getting into the Timberwolves stuff. So the Finale Pod, that's how it's going to be spelled. The Finale Pod on TikTok, where you can find me, and you can also find me on YouTube as well under a similar name. So appreciative again of Andrew having me on. It's been a pleasure being here today to talk about this disappointing game, but obviously a lot to talk about tonight.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they could go 82-0, but maybe next year, right?
Maybe.
Thank you again for coming on. I appreciate it. All of his written work's over on ZoneCoverage too. That's always a fun and excellent read. If you came into this a little bit late, I know people popped in a little late because X took like a good 10 minutes to actually sync with StreamYard. This will get published over on YouTube or on X as soon as we end stream. It should publish the entire thing on X as well. If you don't want to watch this at 10:20 at night, I don't blame you. It'll be posted tomorrow morning as a podcast on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. And then we will be back after a couple day break here. I think we get actually like a little bit of no basketball time here. I'm frantically trying to stall as I bring up the Wolves schedule so that I can look to see who they're playing next. The stalling is not great, but they play Tuesday in Portland, 9 p.m. start, which woof, not a fan of that, but hey, that's what it is. Jonah Maves, another one of our zone coverage people, will be joining me on that one. And we'll try and get Jonah to adopt another basketball team, because that's what that guy needs, is more basketball to watch. Appreciate everyone for listening. Marcus, I appreciate you as always, man. And we'll catch you on Tuesday.
Yeah, thanks for having me.